Now you've got your gear, you've got your gun. Let's go on to the shooting a little bit, okay? So a couple of pointers. You've got the 4 rules. Don't point your gun at anything you're not willing to shoot. Keep your finger off the trigger. Treat every gun as if it's loaded. Know your target and what stands beyond it. So those are the 4 rules. If anybody ever asks you, that's them. So a couple of takeaways from that. 1, do not point your gun at innocent people, ever. That means friends, family. If you're just screwing around, whether it's loaded, unloaded, everybody thinks a gun is unloaded. Do not point it at people, even if you think it's unloaded as a joke. Do not do it. That is a bad move, it's very dangerous, and it's just bad form. So, now with that out of the way, let's continue on. You are not John Wick. I am not John Wick. John Wick doesn't exist in the real world. If you want to dress like him, fine, that is cool. You will look extremely fashionable, but none of us are as tactical, awesome as John Wick, so don't try. Now you've got your gun, you're on the range, you're getting ready to shoot. A couple of pointers there. 1, take your time. It is not a race. Make sure that you are comfortable with your firearm. You don't need to get in there, shoot, and get out as fast as possible. Take your time. Breathe a little. Experience what you're going through. Remember the feelings of what it feels like to actually pull that trigger. When you're shooting, a couple of things. So again, this is my CZ P10F. Couple of things. Grip. You're going to grip fully with your right hand. You're going to put your finger up here near the ejection port if you are not shooting. And that's until you are pointed at the target, ready to shoot, that's where that finger goes. Always up there, okay? So with a grip on the firearm like this, you're going to have the web of your thumb down underneath here, okay? You've got your thumb on this side. You're going to take this palm here and put it right in that little gap that you've created between your fingers and your other palm, okay? And as you do that, you're going to wrap your fingers around here and you're going to squeeze. You're going to squeeze together. You're going to pull back a little bit with this support hand. Pulling back is going to pull the muzzle of your gun down a little bit, okay? And then your other thumb is going to go right here on the side of the firearm and point forward. That's called thumbs forward grip, okay? So with that done, your grip is going to look like that. It's not going to look like this. This is what we call teacupping because you're making a teacup and putting it on the bottom of the gun. This hand is in effect doing nothing in that case. You are not going to have any recoil mitigation with your gun in that case. Another spot to not put your support hand is back behind here. Do not hold it like this, okay? When this gun fires, this slide is going to reciprocate backwards like that, okay? See this? That's pointy and sharp. So if you were to have your hand back here placed on top of this one, you're going to catch this slide to this portion of your hand, and it is going to hurt like a mother. So again, thumbs forward grip, you're going to have your hand, palm inside there, press in, pull back, and then thumbs forward. And that is how you're going to end up holding the gun. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to hold your arms because everybody does that differently. There's a bunch of classes and stuff to be able to listen to and to go to and watch on that, and I surely am not an expert on that. Trigger pull, and try this first without any bullets in the gun. You don't want your first trigger pull to be with a bullet in the gun, okay? So trigger pull, you're going to put your finger on the trigger. You want the trigger to hit you right in the middle of the pad. So finger on the trigger, right in the middle of the pad, pull straight back, okay? It's going to pull straight back. Your trigger will not be as crisp as this one. Sorry, this is an aftermarket trigger, but that's what you're going to want to do. Finger middle of the pad of your finger on that trigger, pull straight back. Now let's go with sight alignment, okay? I've got a different gun here now, and we're going to go over what the sights look like and how to actually use them. So sights are a notch and post on the majority of guns. That means in the front you're going to have a single post sticking up, and in the back you're going to have a notch, usually a U or a squared notch. There's a method of lining up these sights called equal height, equal light. That's where you line up that front post with the top of the back notch, and then you make sure that there's an equal amount of light on either side. Let me show you really quick. So I'm going to use this piece of paper here. Here you can see my sights, and you can see that front post and the back sights. So you can see that there. I've got it lined up equally. This is hard to do in a camera. Equal height and equal light on either sides. The dots on sights mean nothing. 3 dots on sights are the biggest farce, in my opinion, in the firearms industry. You never line up the dots. You always use the profile of the sights. The dots are there for people who don't really know what they're doing, and you do now. Okay, so with our sights properly lined up and our grip properly set, slowly pull the trigger back, until it breaks. Okay, so that's generally how you're going to end up with your first couple of shots. Now, on your first shot, put a single round in the gun. So, a single round, this is a dummy round, in your magazine. You're going to push down, slide it back until it's in the magazine. That's one round. You're going to press the magazine in firmly, and then you're going to rack the slide, okay? So you're going to grab back here somewhere, okay? There should be serrations on the back of your slide. You're going to grab. Now, there's a ton of different ways that you can do this, okay? But it doesn't have to be just with one hand. This is your grippy hand. This is your pushy hand. So take your hand, grip here, push. And that's all you're going to do. So now I've got one round in the chamber. I'm going to go ahead and press out with my proper grip. I'm going to slowly squeeze the trigger until it breaks. Okay? Now, when it breaks, this thing, remember, it's going to go back. It's going to eject that round, and then it's going to stay open. These guns have a hold on the slide, which is going to keep it open. So that's going to be your first round fired. After that, you can go to 2 rounds in your magazine. Do that for a little bit just to get the feel of what it feels like when the gun fires and loads that second round. Because when you have a second round in here, it's not going to hold back. It's going to come back and it's going to go right back forward, loading the second round. And after you've done that a couple of times and you're used to it, you can go ahead and fill your magazine up to capacity and get an idea of what it feels like to go through an entire magazine. But it's always a good idea to start off with 1 round and then 2, and then you can work your way up to a full magazine. Remember, when you get out there the first time, you're focusing on technique. Each break of a gunshot should surprise you just a little bit. You're probably going to end up flinching and pushing down a little bit, so the majority of your rounds are probably going to end up low left, okay? This is just a byproduct of being a new shooter. Don't let anybody make you feel bad about this, make you feel guilty about it. The more you shoot, the more used to it you'll get, and the more that will go away. Now, if it doesn't go away, there's a couple of things that you can do. You can grip the gun differently. You can pull the trigger differently. It's a good idea to do what's called dry fire. So what you do is you sit down in a room, you take all of the ammo out of your gun, you put all of the ammo in a different room, leaving you with just the gun. And you sit there, and you point your gun, and you pull the trigger, and you make sure that the sight picture doesn't move. Okay, now the reason that you do this is because you're building good trigger discipline. You're building a good trigger pull so that when you go to the range the next time, your trigger pull is solid and you can focus on not flinching. Okay, 2 last things as far as actually shooting goes. Thing number 1, well-oiled is more important than clean. Okay, so you don't have to clean your gun every time you go to the range. You do, however, need to make sure that it's well oiled. A dry gun will stop up way sooner than a slightly dirty gun will. And last, use YouTube. YouTube is a great resource for a lot of instructions and a lot of help. Now, is it as good as going to a class or going to a range and actually having somebody physically stand there? No, it's not. But it can help. So if you've got any questions, if you have any issues, please do some YouTube searches, go to some reliable YouTube sites, and see what they say. Okay, so now you've shot your gun, now you're ready to carry your gun, and you're carrying your gun. The very last thing that I want to cover is something that people need to do, and that is know your laws in your area. Laws in every area are different, whether you can carry a gun with a permit, without a permit, open carry, concealed carry. All of these things change in pretty much every state. So know your state laws. You can go to the gun stores and ask. You can call the state police and ask. They will generally know the majority of the laws. But it's very important that you know those laws in your area so that you know exactly what to do and you're doing it properly. The number one way to have this kind of turn on you is to do it improperly. Open carrying and having somebody take it, or getting arrested, getting pulled over and not notifying the officer when you're in a must notify state. In some states, when you get pulled over, if you have a gun on you, you must tell the officer when they come up to the window. Now, personally, I tell them anyway, because once they take my license and registration and go back to their car, they're going to see I have a carry permit. So I might as well let them know right up front, be honest with them, let them know. It's going to put them a little bit more at ease, knowing that I'm a responsible, trustworthy enough person to have let them know. It's just safer. And that's it, guys. That's about what you need to do to be a responsible gun owner. Again, we welcome you. This is a really cool time for gun owners. Yes, it's very difficult to get a gun right now just because there's so many out of stock. It's hard to find ammo right now. But the massive influx into people in our community and the people who are now understanding kind of where we've been out for a while is awesome. We welcome you, and we are glad to have you. That's it for this time, guys. Thank you again for listening to my tips for you new shooters out there. Remember, if you found this video useful, go ahead and like and subscribe down below. If you've got any additional tips that you think I missed, go ahead and write them in the comments down below. Thank you, guys. I appreciate every one of you, and until next time, do your research, get informed, and get to work.